Hey, honey.
Hello, Bob. How are you?
Tom, how are you?
I'm fine too, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to interview you.
Very welcome.
And friends, we have one of the pioneers in the field of hypnosis, Bob Burns, with us. So, Bob, please tell me, how did you get into hypnosis?
It was a very strange one. I used to be, for many years, I was a musician with
Okay,
different bands. So anything blues, soul, Tamla Motown, anything black, basically. But we did lots of rock numbers as well. And one night we were billed in Aberdeen as the funkiest band in town. That was the, so it was going to be a funk night.
okay,
So we arrived at this place, and but these were the days in the 70s where bands wore suits and collars and ties. Yeah, when you did places in West Ends of cities, so you couldn't tell us from a man in the street. So we've got the suits on. We jump off the back of this van, and as we were lifting our equipment into this place, the her name was Elizabeth.
okay,
Liz came out. She was the manager of this place, the Queen's Hotel in Aberdeen. And the drummer, for some crazy reason, said to her, he looked at me and looked at her and says, don't look into his eyes. He's a hypnotist.
okay.
And of course, she turned and looked into my eyes, and I went, sleep. And I caught her head just before it hit the ground. Yeah. So the band were terrified. They never knew I was a hypnotist, but Nizam, neither did I. Yeah?
Okay.
So that's what started it. And I found it quite terrifying. I didn't know what to do. So I assumed what a hypnotist would do. 1, 2, wide awake, feeling fantastic. And I thought, I need to find out more about this. So I went and I did what most people don't do. Instead of joining different, but there weren't about at the time. There weren't these hypnosis academies. So you had to get a mentor. And
Okay.
I got one, and he showed me exactly what he did. And I copied everything he did. That's it.
So that's how you got started. And tell me about your famous protocol, Swan protocol. How did it happen? Please, could you please tell the story behind it?
Well, Swan is very interesting. I live here up in a hill in Montrose right now, overlooking a wonderful piece of water, the Montrose Basin. But back about 8, 9 years ago or so, I used to live near the beach. But it's still not far from here. It's only a mile and a half away. But every Saturday morning, I would do Tai Chi on the beach. I would go away for a couple of hours, do a couple of sets of Tai Chi, and come back to watch the morning TV. It was a cooking program, Saturday morning cooking, something like that. And this morning, I just done Tai Chi. I just came back. I sat in the chair watching the cooking program. I have a cup of tea. I'm very comfortable. I have the wood burner on. And I put my fingers through my hair and leant back onto the chair like so, and leant on the back of the chair like that while I was watching the television. And I happened to look, and I thought, wow. And I said, for some crazy reason, to my hand, you look like a swan, because it was shaped like this, yeah? And it went, yeah. And I thought, oh, that's like an idiomotor response, but I don't do idiomotor responses. So I said, do that again. And again, did that again. And we went into things like, could you turn around to say hello? My hand turned around, and that was a little bit strange, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I said, and how would you say hello? And my hand waved to me. So we started having this conversation with me not in hypnosis, and it was obvious this was beyond idiomotor responses.
Okay.
So I pulled my wife into the room, showed her, tried to do it with her, didn't work, but we agreed I should try this on Monday morning with people coming through my door for therapy, and the vast majority worked, and the vast majority worked all week. So then I wrote in forums that I'd got this thing, and everyone laughed at me. They said I was an idiot.
Okay.
But one guy called Felix Economakis, a Greek psychologist from London, we had some strong words online, and he challenged me to jump on a plane, come to London. And so I did. I went to London, and there was a room full of psychologists waiting for me on Saturday morning. I thought, I'm going to die a death here. This is going to be so embarrassing. But with 95% of them, the hands started turning, they started screaming, and it became ridiculously funny. One guy during the coffee break was a guy called Philippe Miras. He's a doctor from the south of France, a dental doctor, I believe. And I did someone filmed me working with him at the coffee. It's not a great piece of film, but it was the first piece ever. They put it on the internet, and the internet kind of exploded with that. So I went and made a DVD. It cost me exactly £1,000. It's this one here. It's all online now, but this is what I used to send out. And I thought, how will I get my money back? £1,000, And I got it all back by Thursday. It just went wild. And then I started doing workshops, and that's the way it was for quite a few years now, doing workshops all around the world. Well, still doing Monday to Friday, still doing my, unless I was long haul, Australia, Japan, South America, or something like that. I could be home again for Monday. So doing Europe was fine. I still ran a full-time therapy group. But that's how the Swan started. Then people started asking, can you teach it? But at that time, I don't like hypnosis academies. I've never liked them. I don't like the idea of spending some money in a room with strangers for a couple of weeks to learn something, go back home to try it. It doesn't work. You don't understand why it didn't work, because it worked all the time when you were with all these people. So I would only train people who came here to my home.
Okay.
They come to my home, they spend a couple of days with me in the therapy room where they're not allowed to speak. You go in, I give them a pencil, a piece of paper. I say, you can't speak, you can write notes. We'll talk at 5 o'clock when the day is finished. So they saw me be successful using the Swan. So they knew it was real. But better than that, they saw me fail. They get to see me not be able to do the Swan, not be able to hypnotize. So they get to see what a therapist does when it doesn't work. And that's what it's all about, being a therapist. Easy to do it when it works. Easy to say sleep, and the head goes, oh, I could get my milkman to do that. But what happens? What does my milkman do when he says sleep and the head doesn't go down? So that's what I really train people on. What happens when it doesn't happen? Yeah.
Okay.
And that is it in a very scattered nutshell. Okay.
Okay. And Bob, I have heard that therapists from 80 plus countries use this Swan protocol. And I'm surprised, why didn't you patent this Swan protocol? No copyright, no patented. You have openly shared, created DVD. Why so openness? Like, what inspired you not to copyright it?
Well, it's a small thing and it's a huge thing. It's copywritten in a way that I wrote a letter to myself that I'd found this. And I went to some solicitors who said, that's the best copyright you can do. Okay. Yeah. But I understand what you're saying. Other people could actually use this in other parts of the world. And they do, by the way. You can buy this for pennies in India or whatever. I've seen it. I bought one myself, just the hell of it. So it's people completely ripping off my work. And that's not good. But what is good is that someone from the shanty town in South America can be teaching people how to do this thing called the Swan. And they don't have to pay me any money. Because at the end of the day, I wanted the Swan out there. And if I have to be honest, everything in this world is a construct. Everything. Nothing was here. Somebody thought about it and then told somebody else about this idea they had. They constructed it to appear like something else, and they make money from it. Except the Swan. I never constructed the Swan. So although I've made money from it, I don't really deserve to make much more, I don't think. I put my fingers through my hair, I put my hand down. I said, you look like a swan. My hand went like this. It came to me rather than me being clever and writing it up. So for years now, people have been saying some wonderful things about me that I really don't deserve. The truth of it is, the Swan arrived on its own, and I get to make pennies from it. And most people, it's wonderful because I've been in Melbourne, Australia, where somebody walked out of the audience and said, "Here, I owe you this," and they gave me a parcel of money. I said, "What's that?" They said, "I bought this DVD from somewhere in Asia, and it only cost whatever, £3-4. But I knew right away that you never got any money, and you don't charge that. You charge this. It's great. I want to give you your money." That's really quite cool, isn't it?
Yes.
We're not happy. So that's it.
Okay. And could you please also share about your amazing protocol, the wall protocol that you have developed? Bob?
Yeah. So, in my experience, most people come to see me in my workshops for two reasons. The
Okay.
first reason will be they 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 lack in confidence in the therapy room on the initial consultation. Something just doesn't. It's just not right. And the second thing is they're not sure of their work. They've been trained to do this. They've gone through it, but they've always felt that something missing, something missing from their work. So, because my background comes from sales in the 70s, where I was scripted to do everything to get a result, and I was a top salesman who became a national sales manager, I understand the power of the script. However, I don't believe people should be saying, and now I want you to relax and close your eyes. And not that kind of script, but something where they can learn and that script becomes a template. They understand exactly what to say next. And they understand that if the person says this, they say that. But if they say that, then they say this. So they get to the end story. And I think, Nizam, because you sat in on one of my workshops, I
Yes.
liken it to taking a train journey from the north to the south of a country. You have to go through all these stations. And if you're clever enough to hit the stations on time, the train stays on the rails, you get to the south at exactly the right time, and you get to close whatever deal you wanted to make. For me, in a therapy room, it's exactly the same. I'm a salesman. I mean, I get called a therapist. It's ridiculous. I'm actually a salesman. I sell people on an idea. And if the part of them inside, that subconscious, likes the idea, they buy it from me. And they now do this instead of that. That's the way I've always looked upon it. And that's the way it's always been. So I write a thing called the wall, because for me, when someone comes in and sits down, there's a wall, a big wall in front of the therapist. And they have to find a way to get through the wall. And the other person, they have a wall in front of them. So by saying certain things in a certain way, the wall begins to kind of come down so that we can then say, take a nice deep breath. Are you left-handed or right-handed as we step into the Swan or what have you? Yeah. Any other way would be ridiculous. So, as you know, I actually tell people this, that I say it jokingly, of course, that in my home I have a big family motto. It's in ancient Latin, and it's "Snicarios estas bestas," and it really means sneaky is best. And but I believe that sometimes it's like you have to lie to the client like you would lie to a young child until they're ready for a more sophisticated truth. The wall allows me to just talk about things where they smile and they get more comfortable, and then we can go forward and do this stuff. That's it in a very, 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 very little talk. I mean, as you know, I spend 4 or 5 hours on the wall when I do my workshop, and you
Yes.
just had it in 4 or 5 minutes. So it's a little bit more than that.
We
But
were
that's the idea.
fortunate to get those amazing gifts from you, Bob. Thanks for that. And Bob, you have decided to support therapists across the world with very reduced prices. What inspired you to do that in this pandemic, Bob?
Well, as you know, one of the guys at my course, I think I was charging last year £120, and he was saying now that he charges 150. Um, and I think that's a good price to charge, but far too expensive for lots of working people who could never pay for that kind of monies. That's one argument. Um, there's two arguments in therapy. One is to be a therapist to help people. That's what you want to do. And the other one is it's a business. And if you charge £500, hey, you only need to see one person every couple of days. I don't like that. I find it almost vulgar. Yeah, it's not what I want to be. I always want to be a healer, and then the rest would be just narrative. It would be a following from there. But the first, I mean, who wouldn't want to? Could you imagine somebody saying to you, "I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll give you a gift that if you touch somebody, you can take away their pain." Do you think you'd then say, "Okay, that's fine, but hey, how much do I get for this?" It would be, it would never happen. It would be a ridiculous situation. So anyway, with the COVID coming up at the start of last year, I know that many therapists weren't getting any work at all. They're just getting no work. I know because they would tell me. So what I made an offer of was to take my prices down to £40 for working therapists, and I made public with that in my own therapy room, Bob Burns Hypnotherapy. If you're a working therapist, the charge is £40. I don't want to talk to you about it. I don't care if you can afford 120, 150. The price is £40. And then I opened up another paragraph and I said, by the way, if you can't afford any money, if you can't afford £40, you can't afford anything, then the price is free. And we don't need to discuss it. I don't want to see papers that you're going to the local council, because I don't want any proof. You just look at me and you say, I can't afford it, and there's no money. And you can come back as many times as you want. It's not a one-off. It's quite good fun. I'm seeing a couple next week. They say, we came to you for a session. It was great. Thanks very much. But we've heard, is it true that we can have other sessions? And I said, yeah, you can have as many as you want. And they said, for the same £40? I said, yeah, for the same. Or if you can't afford it, for free. And they look at me as if I'm crazy. But I like it. It's wonderful to be able to do that. And I still get paid money. And £40, I think, is not a small amount of money. It allows me to eat for the day, for heaven's sake. And I've only been with him for an hour. So I enjoy it. In fact, it's one of the best things I've ever done. In fact, when COVID finishes for working therapists, I think I'll keep it on forever. I don't think I'll stop doing it. Yep.
Wonderful. That's a great job, Bob. Thank you very much for your sharing your gifts with the world. And okay. So, Bob, you said different therapists also come to you with various reasons that they were not confident with their trainings. They want to learn your wall protocol. Do you also offer personal mentoring to the experienced therapists or different hypnotherapists who need personal mentoring? Is there any option to have your personal mentoring as well?
Yes. Yesterday, for example, I had a couple from one from Australia and one from South Africa who said, I don't want a session. I just want, if I can have that time with you for that money to ask some questions. And the answer was yes, we can do anything that you want. And if it's a specific thing that you want some help with, that's I'll happily do that. I actually went against this years ago because I didn't like it. People charge for mentoring. You went and you talk to them and they start like this. Hi, how are you? You got any questions? You'd ask them things, they'd tell you they charge a ridiculous sum of money. You know, some of them are charging £2,000 to spend a day with them, you know. And one I know a lot was charging £1,000 and getting lots of people. And I started charging £800 for 2 days. But you came, you lived here. I fed you. I gave you alcohol. I took you to work with me. I gave you lunch. And although it looks like I'm doing a wonderful job, I'm not. I'm taking you to work with me. I'm still making money while you're here. So these other guys, hi, how are you? Got any questions? They're charging you money, but they're not making any more money. So I thought, I'll just take people to work. So you pay me money to watch me making money. It's almost unfair, isn't it? But at least it's candid. I'm being honest with them. I can do this for you. But with COVID, we can't do that anymore. So I have to become this guy. I have to do this now. I go online. But if they're local, they can pop and buy it anytime. But online, what I've discovered, because, you know, there's a beautiful saying, isn't there? Every adversity brings with it the seed of an equivalent or greater benefit. I don't know when I first read that. When I read it, I thought, wow, I will remember this forever. You know, they say a truism becomes a truism because it's true. And that is a truism. So with COVID, it's brought us many presents, wonderful gifts that we never knew we could do, and now we can do it. Do you remember 2 years ago, people were arguing if they could ever do a session online? Now 90% of people are doing sessions online. They're getting the same results. They just never knew. They were just forced into it, you know. So yes, I can do mentoring online very easily. We do lots of stuff there.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Bob. It was my dream to interview you, and many people who are curious, like what exactly is this Swan protocol? What is the history behind it? They'll get to know. and people will also come to know that about how you are supporting therapists, and they can get benefited through your gifts. I don't want to use the word services. I want to use the word gifts. You are sharing your gifts with the world. Thank you once again, Bob. It was wonderful.
Very, very welcome. And much love to everyone. Have a great time out there.
Thank you, Bob. Bye.